Continuing Know the Soul Ability series is taking us to Psychokinesis, otherwise known as Telekinesis, and it's a way to move things with your mind. You're not touching it, it's moving. I have never witnessed this. Maybe I have some skepticism here, but you know what? I am open to possibility, and you should be too, because if you start closing off what is real and what isn't real, then you will never know what is truly real. So this episode, we're going to learn what psychokinesis is. That it's also called telekinesis. I'm going to give you my experience with psychokinesis. I'm going to give you tips on how to develop your soul ability skills, go through some exercise tips, and give you ways to exercise those specific psychokinesis skills that I failed terribly at. And that's coming up this episode on NextGEN Medium, the podcast. Hey, my name is Sarah Nickerson. I'm a psychic medium intuitive, and just a few years ago, I uncovered my psychic mediumship intuitive abilities. Before that, I had no idea that I could do the things, and now I do. And now I do them for people to help them out, and I help people with their development because there's stuff I've experienced. Maybe I can impart some of my wisdom to you guys. And one of the reasons that I started this whole thing is I just can't believe I went so long not knowing that I had this stuff. And it really has changed my perspective about my priorities in life and what's important and why. So my mission is to make people aware that this world is for you too, that these skills are your birthright, and damn it, you deserve to know what you are capable of. I also want to help you by imparting what I've learned, what I've taken in as my truth, the things that I'm skeptical of too. Oh, by the way, nextgenmedium.com is a website that I started. And I do blogs and vlogs and this podcast. So welcome. All right, let me continue my thoughts, which was one of the things that I've always kind of been skeptical of. I've never seen for myself, but being in this new world of impossibility, which is now possible to be, I can't count out anything that I come across. So I've never really gotten into psychokinesis. I've never really looked into it. I never really, had a curiosity to move things with my mind. I guess I don't really see it as compelling enough for me to be curious about it. But I'm sure a lot of people are. I mean, it's one of those things we see in movies. But anyway, psychokinesis, telekinesis, you're moving things with your mind. This is a continuation of the Know Your Soul Ability series, and is a way for us to get familiar with another aspect that you can become familiar with, which is the reason why we're even talking about it. I just want you to be open to the world, the possibility that is around us, and there are many different ways that we use our soul abilities that translate to psychic or intuitive skills or healing skills, mediumship. It's not how you sense, but what you experience that makes a soul ability, and everybody has access to their soul abilities. Some people might be better at it naturally than others. Which of these abilities is yours? That's what we really want to get to. And what is yours to investigate? And where do we investigate? You have curiosity and you want to experiment. And so that's why we're doing this whole series. And today, focused on psychokinesis. Let's get there. Let's do this. What is psychokinesis? Okay, here we go. Psychokinesis, also known as PK. For those in the know, that's not me. Also, telekinesis. I think that's more of how I know psychokinesis is telekinesis, but it is the ability to move things without physically touching them, mentally moving it with your mind. We got to go to Merriam-Webster, see what the official definition is. They got a lot of integrity and reputation, so let's see what they got. They define it as movement of physical objects by the mind without use of physical means. Okay? Britannica, they get a little more fluffy with their definition. Here we go. All right, lots of big words, multiple syllables here. In parapsychology, the action of mind on matter, in which objects are supposedly caused to move or change as a result of mental concentration upon them. The physical nature of The physical nature of psychokinetic effects contrasts with the cognitive quality of extrasensory perception, ESP, and the other major grouping of parapsychological phenomena. Claimed effects of psychokinesis include levitation, mental bending. Such displays are common, though fraudulent, in theatrical magic. So apparently psychokinesis could be a soul ability that is already present and could show itself in times of emotional distress. Doing some of the research, this is what I'm finding. So I have a video in my blog that is dedicated to this soul ability. I've titled it Know the Soul Abilities, Psychokinesis. And in this video is a woman who is explaining what you might experience if this is a skill that may already be in development for you. And in it, she talks about it seems to be most present in times when you're emotionally charged. And she did get specific about the effects of electricity and electronic devices, that if you find you're one of these people, you have terrible luck with electronics. Geez, you might have something there that you have to investigate just a little bit. So check that video out at my blog at nextgenmedium.com. So one of the cool things about doing this podcast is doing research that I can share with people, but that I really want to know myself. So getting to know psychokinesis, telekinesis a little bit more, putting my attention to it like I've never had before. Like I said, I haven't been enticed to try this soul ability quite yet. And prior to doing the research, I'm skeptical. I'm still skeptical of this soul ability, but I am open to its possibility. If this is a true thing, if this is for real, I want to experience it. I want it to be a part of my truth, whether it is or isn't a thing. Frankly, I don't think it could ever not be a thing, but moving along. So I watched some videos I have in my blog, and I've become much more intrigued to try out and develop this skill, especially since I see one exercise that passes some of my skeptic checklist items, which is just a common sense approach in which it seems plausible. I'm a big Mythbusters fan. You know how after they do a myth, it's either busted or plausible or fact or true or whatever. That's exactly what comes in my head when I come across these soul abilities. Is that plausible? But as I rolled through my head of my experiences, I noticed an interesting difference that this soul ability presents that I've yet to really conceptualize. And that is a theory that I have experienced, such as precognition or mediumship, telepathy. They're all psychic experiences that I can now view as interpretive ability experiences. What does that mean? That means I'm decoding incoming messaging with my soul abilities. And I've experienced my soul abilities as simply a receiver. I'm taking in the information. Now, what's interesting about psychokinesis or telekinesis that I'm conceptualizing here, that I'm trying to make sense of, it seems to be a different way of utilizing your soul abilities in that it's sending psychic message or psychic energy. And this same concept would go along with psychic healing or energy healing, Reiki, in which you're putting the effort into making an effect on something else, like a physical thing. So I'm so used to taking in, being the receptor, but I guess I haven't ventured in that area of sending it out. You know what I mean? I'm taking what's being sent out, but being the one to send it out. Quite interesting. Never thought about it like that. So it's growing my understanding, my concepts here as possibility in this crazy world. But I do practice energy sending during meditations, and maybe this is a step in the right direction, develop psychokinesis. And you can witness that in one of the meditations, the guided meditations that I have on my vlog. It is a part of this blog post as well, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it is interesting getting to know the soul abilities, even if I do not have experience in them, because I've become more aware of how my skills work, gaining insight into concepts that I'd never considered before, and developing theories to test. it's always humbling to be shown how much more is out there in this world, because it's really hard to see the scope of possibility. It really is, until you experience things. And then there's no like visual component or books or, there's nothing you can flip through that says this is all the things with soul abilities. Now you're going to experience it, and you got to open yourself to possibility, just like I am with this psychokinesis stuff. But it is interesting to get to know the soul abilities, even if I have not experienced this one in particular, because I'm becoming more aware of how my skills work, gaining insight into concepts that I'd never considered before, developing theories to test. It's always interesting to discover something new that can add to a world of understanding. So it's daunting. You'll never be done learning, and this is a concept you got to get used to when it comes to getting familiar with your soul abilities and understanding the breadth and depth of what you got. So one thing I'm harping on through this whole soul ability series, when it comes to some skills and tools to develop to get you to experience these soul abilities, includes meditation. Doing meditation helps you build your baseline, helps you get familiar with what is yours. And the way that I think of it is meditation is just kind of universally one of these concepts that people understand right away. So as soon as I say meditation, people get it. But if I say you sit quietly, you close your eyes, and you focus inward, it's a lot of words when I could just say meditation. So do meditation, get familiar with being focused internally, getting to know the energy that you sit in, because when you start receiving messaging, that is incoming messaging from some other source. And it will feel different. You'll see it, you'll hear it, and understanding your meditation place, your grounded place, will help you become more astute to incoming messaging. And if you need help with that, I got some guided meditations in my blog for Know the Soul Abilities, Psychokinesis. Check it out at nextgenmedium.com/blog. And they're embedded right in the blog, so you don't have to click a link and be moved away. I got a white light meditation, and I also have an energy protection meditation. These are just practicing you for meditation, but a lot of people visit these on a regular basis because it makes them feel good, and that's cool. I'm down with that. Next up, you got to become familiar with your clairs, the tools that you are working with. And I have a link in this blog to my other blog post called Time to Meet the Clairs, and I have it all listed out. These are just the ones that I knew about, the ones that I researched and found. But hey, there could be a whole lot more I'm not aware of. But if anybody has any extra clairs that I don't have on my list, please feel free to message me, contact me through a contact form on my website, and I'd be happy to add that. But it's good to know the tools you're working with. It helps you understand a little bit more. Next up, I have exercise tips. So when you are sitting in your place, you're grounded, you're taking in messaging. Specifically, these are tips that you should bring along with you. Keep in mind, keeping an open mind. Actually, that is my first tip. And that's just being open to possibility. If you're closed off from what could actually exist, then you're not going to be able to take in all the messaging that's coming in. You're going to be dismissing messaging that's coming in. You're going to second guess and judge it, and that is not your place. Your place is just to take it in, but you need to be open to taking in whatever's given. So be sure to put yourself in a state of mind of possibility. My second tip is to meditate. That's kind of how you get to that exercise place. And then observing. Now, this goes along with keeping an open mind. And the way you do that is by observing the information that's coming in, whether it be through visuals, sounds you hear, smells you smell, all using your mental senses. And how can you discern? Well, if it's different than a physical sense. It's much more subtle. So you really have to be quiet and just take it in. And being an observant person is not being a judgy person. Don't be judgy. And being observant is not dismissing either. which were the keep the open mind kind of concept there. And last of all, if I hadn't documented through this whole journey, I think I would miss a lot, and I wouldn't have a full scope of my experience, but also my tools that have presented themselves in the past that I couldn't recognize until later on. So be sure to document. So once you start expanding your understanding of your own abilities, you can look back and see evidence of it happening in the past when you hadn't recognized it. It really is quite astounding. So be sure to have a little journal when you do your meditations. Write down what happens, how you experienced it, and it will come in handy at a later point. And last up, you need to get to know your ego. We all have one. We've talked about it in the past. And when you start experimenting, you start developing examples of how your ego comes through, but sometimes it's hard to recognize it. So going through this post I did on my blog of identifying ego in your messaging, or even just going back to the episode here on the podcast, I used my own my own ego blocks, my own identification of my own ego things. And you might be able to identify with them yourself. And that's just a place to work off of and start uncovering the other ego things that might be in there. Maybe you don't feel value unless somebody else validates you. That could be an egoic thing that could get in the way of doing your messaging, being true to the messaging that's coming through. That is what you are committed to, is that truth. So check out that post just to see where you lie in that egoic mind frame and start identifying it for yourself so you can get the hell out of the way and get to work, because it's just getting in the way. Just makes things too complicated. Now let's get to some exercises to practice your psychokinesis skills. I got a couple things here for you, and I've tried them both, but one of these in particular was dumpster fire. All right, let's get into this. The pendulum. This is the first exercise I have for you of two. The first one here is the pendulum. I've seen this in action. There's actually a psychic medium that I'm connected to on Facebook, and she did a reading. She was doing like a Facebook Live, and I chimed in, hey, you got something for me? I think she does them every Sunday. Daniela. Ooh, I'm not going to remember her name. But I'm sure you can find some of those on Facebook if you take a look around. But she uses a pendulum, and the way it would work is someone would ask a question, and she would hold the pendulum up. And if the pendulum swung right to left, the answer was no. If it swung back and forth, to and fro, it was yes. So this could be an easy way to get started with using psychokinesis, but it's also a way to get in touch with your intuition. So this could be a good thing to pick up for multiple reasons if you're wanting to do that kind of thing. Next, and this is the second one I have for you, and this one requires a little bit of assembly and a lot of time. This exercise is more of my type of exercise, maybe because there's clay involved, but I like clay. I came across it on YouTube, and you can see a couple of the videos that I have, a couple of the videos that I was inspired to bring this particular exercise to you. These videos are in my blog, and I've embedded them in there so you can check them out. And I watched multiple videos on this. I was actually really intrigued. I came across it on YouTube, and I have it in the blog, but the exercise consists of a simple contraption that requires a needle stuck in a sturdy clump of clay with a delicate piece of folded tinfoil balanced on top of the needle. I actually tried this out, and I have a still from a video that I used to have up, but I took down. But I needed to give you my own evidence that I actually did this. But I have a photo, like a video still of this little contraption in my blog. So let me explain this again. You have a needle like a little needle, like a sewing needle, and it's stuck in a sturdy clump of clay and it's going straight up. And then on the tip of the needle, you have a halved piece of tinfoil that balances ever so carefully on top of that. And so in this experiment, you place both your hands next to the objects. The object is like between your two hands, but your two hands are a couple inches out from it, so you can't touch it, or wind action from your hands won't be able to move it around. Once you have some success with that, then you get like a glass barrier over the contraption, like a deep bowl, and then you would put your hands on the bowl, and it's like you're working the distance out from the object. And this allows minimal influences on the object when you have that glass barrier over the top on the object, while increasing your telekinesis ability with further distance from the object. And at one point, the presenter in this video does a video of this same contraption in which he is sitting on the other side of the table and able to spin the tinfoil at the other end of the table. So he has this contraption with a glass bowl over it on one side of the table. He is like feet away and he's not even touching it and it's moving. So skeptic flags do go up, but hey, how do you know the truth if you don't try it? So you can check out this video and this exercise on my website at nextgenmedium.com/blog in the Know the Soul Abilities Psychokinesis post. All right, that does it for this episode of NextGen Medium, the podcast. Now, for more on psychokinesis, go to my blog, nextgenmedium.com/blog, and go specifically to this post, Know the Soul Abilities Psychokinesis, because I have everything that I've talked about, plus web resources for more on psychokinesis, including social media resources on Facebook, for Facebook groups, for Reddit communities. I also have the videos that I talked about that I spent quite a bit of time watching, probably more than I thought I would, but you can check it out. It's really interesting, and my sources as well. While you're at my website, you can sign up to get a development session with me, or a reading, or both, whatever you want to do. You can flip through my calendar, find a time that's best for you, and we'll go from there. You can check out the blog, vlog, and other podcast episodes at nextgenmedium.com. Add your name to get emails about upcoming NextGen Medium stuff. The information you're giving me, which would be your name and email, that is mine. I don't sell it to anybody. That is my information only. I'm the only person who sees it, and you trust me. That's why you're giving me that stuff. So sign up for the emails for upcoming NextGen Medium stuff, which is educational stuff and contests for free readings and a whole lot more. Also, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Pinterest. And until next time, have a pleasant rest of your day. Thank you for listening. Be safe, and I'll chat with you later. See ya. Bye.